welcome to Traditional Painting the Digital Way. This is where I use digital painting apps to teach traditional painting techniques. In this video, we're going to start a brand new painting, and we're going to paint a road with trees alongside of it, and it's going to be an autumn scene. If you want to follow along with traditional materials, here's a list of all the brushes that I use. And if you want to use canvas, you can use canvas board or wrapped canvas. Any kind will work just fine. I prefer these kind because they're more stable. Here are the colors that I use. I use Grumbacher Academy, and sometimes I use Liquitex acrylics. I'm going to be starting out by using Sketchbook Pro for Android. And here you can see that you can choose the sizes of your canvas. And it also shows you how many layers that you can have with the size of the canvas that you use. And Sketchbook Pro doesn't have a reference window, so I have to use the Floating Gallery app on my Samsung Galaxy Note Pro 12.2 inch. And so I just use it for my photo reference. Now this painting started out to be something totally different from what it ended up with. Originally, I have this really neat painting this neat photo reference that I found of a little girl holding a stuffed animal, and I wanted to do that. So I thought that I would make a background for her of using this road. But as you'll see, this painting totally evolved into something else, and that's just kind of the way some paintings work. Sometimes you start it out, and by the time you end it, it turns into something totally different. So here I was working on the sky and trying to get kind of a light blue color here. And if you're following along with acrylics, probably ultramarine blue with a touch of burnt sienna and a lot of white acrylic gesso will give you that color. You want kind of a grayish blue. And then I thought I'd add a little bit of purple here at the bottom. And I'm just kind of going through the different brushes here in Sketchbook Pro, trying to get them to blend. And some of them will blend, and some of them you have to use the blending brushes to get the colors to blend together, and you just keep working till you can kind of get a smooth blend. And if you're following along with traditional materials, just use your flat wash brush and make giant X strokes, and that will kind of give you a smooth look for your sky. And here I'm just kind of looking through the different brushes and trying to figure out what I want for the clouds here, and I want kind of a very light orange tinted color for the clouds. You don't want them real white. You kind of want to give them a little bit of an orange tint, and I'm just kind of making thin wispy clouds. I'm not making a whole lot of detail, and just using kind of rough brush strokes here. And you can do that with your number 8 bristle brush if you're following along with your acrylics. And then I want to kind of do a really light background of distant trees here. Now my photo reference, they're not as distant as I'm going to make them look here, but I'm going to go ahead and just do that to give more depth to the painting. So I want to go ahead and get kind of a rough scumbly look in the background here. And you can use some of the charcoal brushes in Sketchbook Pro that will give you that look. And if you're following along with your acrylics, just use your bristle brush and tap the end of your brush on the painting, and so that it splays out the bristles and gives it a kind of a rough edge look, like it's distant trees and you can just kind of see the leaves, but they're not individual and they look just kind of jagged like. And then here I'm adding a light green to that just to give it a little bit of some autumn color. I'm throwing in yellows and light oranges, and we just kind of want to keep these really light pastel looking colors, because they're going to be in the background, and there's going to be the atmospheric perspective, which means that things that are distant and far away are going to look lighter in color and less intense. And then here I'm just kind of sketching in the road and the fence posts, just kind of trying to get an idea of where to put things, and just kind of using a really light color. And you can either do this before you start painting. Sometimes it's probably better to do it before you start painting, but you can do it when you get the sky in the background if you want to. You can sort of add the foreground elements in there if you want to. It just depends. Some people will plan out their whole painting. I kind of don't. That's why this one actually ended up totally different from what I had in mind, because I don't always plan out my paintings. I usually just have kind of a rough idea, and then I just kind of start with it. And sometimes that works out. Sometimes it turns into something totally different. So here I'm putting in the grass for the field, and just getting a whole bunch of different colors there. Yellow ochres for those following along traditionally, light greens. You can use your hooker's green if you're using acrylics. And just throw these all together. And what you do if you're following along traditionally is smear it on really thick, and then take your bristle brush and just pat all these colors together. And that will blend it together, and it will make it look like a field. And you can kind of do this the same way with Sketchbook Pro. And what I'm doing here is I found a brush that I'm using to blend. It's one of the synthetic, it's the synthetic acrylic, I think. But then I went ahead and got some of the colorless blending brushes, and you just kind of tap those together and just make the colors blend together. And you pull upward with your stylus or your brush, just kind of give it an upward stroke, and that gives it the structure and the look of grass. And I'm throwing in some purple there because you want the shadow color on the edge of the road. If you're using acrylics, just use dioxazine purple and kind of blend it in with the green there. And just keep working on it till you get the look of a field of grass there. And then I'm doing that a little bit on the other side. Now it's going to have mostly trees, but it's got a little bit of grass before it gets to the trees. So you want to go ahead and add some yellow ochre there and throw in some green and just kind of smudge it in there and smear it too. And use the upward brush stroke to kind of smudge in the two colors there. And again, I'm using one of the synthetic blending bristles and Sketchbook Pro, and it works fairly well. But you can notice that sometimes it leaves it transparent, so you might have to go over it more than once. And that actually happens with acrylics in real life too, so it's kind of like working with acrylics and oils when you work traditionally. And then here I'm just kind of adding the trees along the side of the road, and these are closer, so they're going to be more intense. So we want a darker green here, and if you're following along traditionally, use your hooker's green, throw in a little bit of purple, a little bit of white acrylic gesso to make the colors opaque. And the dioxazine purple here, that will work as the shadow color for the trees. And I'm using some of the charcoal type brushes here again to get that leafy look of the trees without going into great detail, because there's a whole bunch of trees, so you don't need great big detail, but you kind of want that leafy look. And the charcoal brushes that are in Sketchbook Pro work fairly well for this. And then I'm adding a little bit on the ground here, just with some light oranges, and you want to add the autumn colors, make them with cadmium oranges and cadmium red light if you're following along with your acrylics. But you want light yellows, light reds, maybe even slightly pink for your autumn leaves look, I guess. And then here I'm trying to do the road, and you can use probably burnt umber or burnt sienna. It's kind of a dark brown, and throw in some white to lighten it up. The road's going to be lighter as it goes off into the distance, so it'll be darker as it comes toward you. And for this road, I didn't want it to be paved. I think it's paved or crushed gravel or something in the picture, but I want it to be a dirt road here, so I'm throwing in brown colors, and you can put in a little bit of yellow ochre too, and just kind of mix them all together. And you want kind of a rough look. Don't smudge all the colors together and make them one color. You want to leave pockets of lighter browns and darker browns here, and leave some of the yellow look. And you just kind of want it to have kind of a mud look, like it's a dried mud road. And then here I went ahead and imported this painting into Infinite Painter, because I wanted to go ahead and kind of work with the brushes. In Infinite Painter give you a little bit more opaqueness, and I'm more comfortable with them, I guess, because I'm using them more, but also because they kind of give you a little bit more texture. You can use the texture in Infinite Painter. You can set the canvas to different textures. You can kind of do that in Sketchbook Pro. They're starting to do that in some of their updates, but it's still not as easy as it is in Infinite Painter. So I switched here, and I'm adding more colors to the grass here, and I'm using the Leo brush and the Vincent brush and all these brushes to kind of get the look of tall grass. And so I'm adding different colors again, throwing in some more yellow ochre if you're following along with your acrylics, some more Hooker's green, and some more purples, and again I'm pulling the brush stroke upward. And then I wanted to add some lighter color to the edge of the road in the distance, because it's going to be lighter in color there. And you can go back and just keep working different colors in. If you're not satisfied, you can even throw in oranges to your field. And here I'm using some of the blending brushes, just trying to get, using the Vermeer brush to get kind of a textured look here, a dry brush look. And I want to go ahead and just kind of blend them in here. Blend them along the other side of the road. Try to get a more grass-like texture on it too. And then I just want to go ahead and make sure that I save it, because we've been having a little bit of trouble with the beta testing. And save it and export it out, because sometimes we lose the project. So this is the end of part 1 of my Autumn Road series, and in part 2 we're going to go ahead and finish up the picture and add the final details. So if you're interested in seeing part 2, hit the subscribe button. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments down below, and I will catch you later.